Again, early this morning, President Zelenskyy announced that he will be coming to the White House on Monday. If that meeting goes well, unlike their last Oval Office visit, of course, he will schedule another meeting with President Putin. I want to bring in NBC's chief foreign correspondent, Richard Engel. He is in eastern Ukraine for us this morning. And Richard, even as Vladimir Putin was enjoying that red carpet visit here, the air raid sirens were sounding where you are in that region, in Kyiv specifically. What was the reaction to the summit from there?
Yes, Peter, the war here is continuing. There was no ceasefire. There was no pause in the fighting, and there obviously was no peace deal. But frankly, Ukrainians had been bracing for a worse outcome. What they were most concerned about is that Vladimir Putin and President Trump would reach some sort of quick deal, and that Ukraine, not at the meeting, would be handed a fait accompli and that they would have to deal with it. This is what Ukraine had been pushing for. This is what European leaders had been pushing for. An initial meeting and then a follow-up meeting in which President Zelenskyy is directly involved. If you remember, Peter, just a few days ago, President Zelenskyy, European allies, the Secretary General of NATO, got on a video call with President Trump and urged him to go slow and not make any binding decisions about Ukraine, about its borders, about long-term peace arrangements without Ukraine in the room. So we've seen President Zelenskyy welcoming what happened yesterday in Alaska, issuing a statement saying that he's on his way to the U.S. He'll be meeting with President Trump on Monday. We also saw EU leaders who are friends of Ukraine, a so-called coalition of the willing, that's what they're calling themselves right now, also welcoming what happened in Alaska, saying that the U.S. and Europe must give Ukraine, quote, ironclad security guarantees. So this is a process. It is continuing. But yes, so is the war, so is the fighting, so are the deaths here.
Richard, you're exactly right. And Zelenskyy had warned Donald Trump, in effect, that Vladimir Putin would be bluffing. He said, don't be fooled by the Russian leader. Zelenskyy, as you note, he will return to the White House on Monday. We remember how things went the last time he was there, that Oval Office meeting before he was escorted out of the building. What are reasonable expectations for this upcoming visit?
Well, it's hard to know because, as you mentioned right at the top of your piece, Peter, the goal seems to have changed somewhat. Even yesterday, going into the Alaska summit, President Trump said he wanted to reach a ceasefire, that is, a temporary stopping of the violence in order to pave the way for long-term peace negotiations. Now he says the goal is not just a temporary ceasefire, not just a pause in the fighting, but an end to this conflict, addressing some of the root causes. That is what the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, has long said that he wants. President Zelenskyy is now apparently on board with this formula. He said he welcomed what happened in Alaska. But President Zelenskyy in the past has said that he wanted first a ceasefire and then a long-term agreement. So they're going to have a lot to talk about. If they're not going for a ceasefire right now, if they're going for a permanent settlement, that means they need to address some of these much bigger issues right away, like the final borders of Ukraine, what it means for NATO. Does Ukraine have the possibility of joining NATO, or at least applying for NATO membership? President Trump said that that's not on the card, so it seems very unlikely. But if they've moved the goalposts back somewhat and they're not going for a ceasefire but a final agreement, then it seems like this process just got somewhat more difficult, but potentially more sustainable, reaching a final result that could actually end this conflict and not just drag it out.
Richard Engel there in Ukraine for us. We'll be speaking to you, of course, over the next couple of days. A lot of moving parts and unanswered questions here. Laura and Joe, we'll send it back to you.
All right, Peter, thank you for that. Appreciate you leading us off this morning. We're going to check back in with you in our next half hour.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC, or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.